Hi, Siris. How are you? Where have you been at?
Been chilling. What's going on?
Not much. So, let's talk about drones.
Yeah.
But what's going on? I mean, I heard my little news circuits I listen to every day that they're proving like surveillance, like drones into the system.
Well, I mean, basically, America is just basically becoming. See, the thing is, Obama is a very popular person, popular president. So what happens is that when he's in office, he could basically get away with stuff like that. Um, I think
Stuff like what?
I mean, he's been droning Pakistan for a long time, but not even having drones in America, he get away with that. Um, for the most part, people trust him, so he can. So when he's in office, they can do more things like that. Basically, if you look at civil liberties and privacy, he's been the worst president ever. Like basically, you have no privacy. There is none of that stuff anymore. And with the drones in the sky, they could take surveillance anywhere. And the thing is, it's not just about surveillance. They actually are trying to do it where, if they deem an American a terrorist, they can kill you even on American soil. So that's really, really concerning and despicable. But it's not. I wouldn't say it's despicable that they're doing it. It's despicable that there's no real public outcry because basically who's in the presidency. So, I mean, the freedom that America used to have was what really made America different than other countries, and that's all gone now. So, or if it's not gone, it's in the process of leaving. So and it's funny at the same time they have drones coming. They even, there's a kind of a big push to control more guns. So it's kind of interesting how both of them are kind of colliding with each other, happening at the same time. So, it's interesting times that we live in for sure.
And just for you guys know, it's uh, basically they believe that the regulation there's going to be regulations and testings and licensing of commercial drones by 2005. So if it's commercial drones, realize that a lot of times people could debate, okay, well, this can create some job opportunities for the economy, so therefore it could stimulate the economy, so therefore people can create drones. And then at the same time, you can have people who are surveillancing things. But when you realize that you're talking about drones, you realize that it's not just going to be drones that's in the air. There's going to be all different types of drones, from drones that could look like bugs. And at the same time, these drones have the capability of assassinating someone who's labeled a terrorist. However, the question is, what exactly is a terrorist? The terrorist is subjective. If the government says you're a threat to their security or to their doctrine or maybe even propaganda, then you could be called terrorist. The fact that the terrorist is simply given to an organization which has a history of creating, false wars for their own agenda, it becomes very dangerous, actually, the potential that Americans be called terrorists for just believing in freedom of speech, right?
Definitely. I mean, I don't even. I mean, to me, it's a topic that is interesting to some people because I guess people still have doubts in their minds what's going on. But it really speaks for itself. I mean, at the same time, the person, forgot the guy's name. He's working CIA who basically he was a whistleblower who spoke about torture under the Bush administration. He's about to go to jail for 30 months. And it's interesting. If my math is right, 30 months is about 2.5 years. And it's interesting because, he even said, I saw him in an interview recently that when he did the whistleblower stuff, he thought that when Obama came in, Obama's not going to do that. He was kind of doing it in a way where he was kind of pacing himself for the next president. And it didn't work out too well because even the Obama administration tell him he got to go to jail now, which is not really about him, but it's about other whistleblowers. The time when you used to get in the movies where you see somebody, a person in the government telling you what the secrets so that, they're about a soldier, they're like a soldier for freedom. Those days are over. The days of a news reporter, going against their TV stations, all that stuff that's in your imagination, it's not going to happen at this point. At this point, it's total surveillance, totally taken away, breaking the Constitution. And I don't really want to get into, like, the whole gun-toting stuff. But in general, it definitely is a new time. And the drones are kind of symbolic of that. It's kind of funny if you're into sci-fi movies. The drones actually even look like the drones in Terminator 2 when you saw those things flying in the sky. Like, it's definitely like the future's coming. And it's sad because it's happening and most people just don't really even care or pay attention to it. So I definitely find it sad and interesting at the same time.
But at the same time, they're also doing different technology where, at the same time to stop hackers, and also they can actually look into your homes by, they have these new televisions where it says like, oh, like televisions now, the flat screens you have to connect to like a game, whatchamacallit, a Game Boy or like Wii to get on the internet. They have now television that you can actually access the internet by just turning it on, and then you can the television, it has its own modem to connect to the internet. Well, I heard in an article that basically, I'm not sure which one it is, but now they also have like laptops and televisions that they can actually look into your house through the webcam. So basically, if you are a hacker and you are hacking into something, that they can look at whoever's hacking it through the webcam, take a picture of you, and at the same time they can also do the same thing with their television. So in essence, where is the privacy? That's invasion of privacy. If they can look in your house and see what you're doing through your television screen, which most people eat, sleep, drink, watch television then you kind of like willingly allow them to look in your house based by that webcam or the ability just so they can look at your house. At the same time, even if that's a little bit too much of technology, just think of the stuff like Facebook. Look at the things like if you're Facebook, if you have GPS, if you have your cell phones, you have your smartphones. Every time you say I'm here, or you're logging on, they can just look at your IP and say, oh look, based on that GPS, this person was here, 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 here. And I've heard that a couple of couples have caught their significant other being at someone else's house by checking in on their GPS system on like some tracking device. So at the same time, it's like if you're addicted to Facebook and you're addicted to Twitter, which personally I don't really care for, you can also be tracked just by having a cell phone and consistently logging into it, or just even having a GPS on your phone as well. Yeah. Which is all about surveillance, American surveillance.
I mean, people know for a while, more technology you got, the easier it is for you to surveil. So, I mean, that's been like that for a long time. So, I mean, that's not going to change. They get you addicted to technology. They can basically control and follow you as much as they want. That's always been like that. So, I mean, those things are not going to change. It's probably going to get worse because they're going to have more new technology.
So the question is, when people are looking into the systems and things, the technology and the things that you are attracted to, they're not going to tell you what's happening. They're going to sell to you in a little, based on your emotion or ego, because that's the best way to get things slipped by underneath the crack. So when everyone's talking about revolutions and guns and stuff, okay, that's awesome, whatever. But however, read between the lines. When everyone's pushing Facebook, look at how they can track you through your phones through Facebook. When you're ever taking Twitter, they can also track you and where you're going and what you're eating, what your thoughts are, profile you. People can just profile you on Twitter, like stalkers. Like, they sell it to you as a package as like, oh, look, you can check your Facebook everywhere you go now, blah, 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 on your phone. Everyone has a smartphone. It's like, I'm just saying, like, realize that sometimes a lot of the surveillance can be passed off as, like, entertainment. But then eventually you'd be like, how did that happen? And then now everyone's like, I remember when we all used to have dollar bills. Now we all have debit cards. How did that happen? I remember when, everything was just cash. And now we all have credit and debt. How did that happen? It's always sold to you to satisfy your ego. Like, look, if you have a credit card, you're like an upper echelon of the rest of society. So that everyone always gets credit cards and think it's cool. Now everyone has credit cards. You don't have to be cool or upper part of society. Everybody has a credit card. Then when you have a credit card, you have debt. And when you have debt, you're bankrupt. You know what I mean? And then they sold it. We accepted it because our ego wanted that credit card because we thought it was special. And now we all wish we never had a credit card because now we're more in debt than we ever were if we just kept our cash. So it's always sold to you to think it's a bigger, better, and it's better for life. In reality, it creates more damage. That's what I think. Personal opinion. What's FI?
I mean, it is not really complicated. Use more technology. It's easier to control or surveil you. That's basically the bottom line. That's not even complicated. Whether it's electronic, mechanical, if it's
I say people just use a regular phone where you don't have to use the internet. On my phone, I don't really use the internet. Basic phone. Get your unlimited phone, and that's it.
To be honest, any phone could be tracked. Even the fact that if your phone is off, they could track it. You have to take the battery out. So I mean, like I said,
Well, then
technology.
take the battery out then.
I mean, technology itself. I mean, to me, it's not really even about if you care. The question is, it's just being more aware. Because some people like it. Some people feel safer with surveillance and stuff like that. It's cool. I don't mind that. It's just that you have to be aware. You know, when you see, you know, your president crying for the kids that got killed in Connecticut, then he bombs a whole bunch of kids in Pakistan. It's not really consistent behavior. So it's really more about being aware. If people were aware, he wouldn't have cried in the first place on TV and got your emotions lit. And it's not really about him, but it's about us. And we just have to be aware of things. So I hope when people listen to this, just remember that.
Right. So you don't think the president was legitimate in his feelings?
Of course not. If he was legitimate, he would cry for the kids he kills in Pakistan.
But they're not Americans. It's different.
Well, I mean,
Just joking.
that's just disgusting. So I mean, it is what it is. I mean, if people think that behavior is cool, then it's cool. It's fine on them. I just want people to be aware.
It's just the gross stuff of how our television is. You know, if someone is killed and they're beautiful, everyone makes out like it's like the worst crime in the world. You know what I mean? But if it's a regular girl who got killed and she's not according to American standards, you know, blonde hair, blue eyes, white, or like beautiful, even a mulatto or a beautiful girl, any nationality, but if she's beautiful, okay, then it's like, wow, this is a tragedy. But if she's like a regular girl who's not marketable and television, the news doesn't get reported. And at the same time, that's not fair to all types of people. You know what I mean? Like the children, like the person in South Africa, like, you know how many people are getting like beat? Like, you know, there's like, for example, in South Africa, I read the news, a guy who was he was a darker gentleman, skinny, and he got dragged by his arms on a truck by the South African police, and he died like after he got dragged, and a whole bunch of people watched it, and it was on camera, and he died when he went to the hospital. But it was his authorities that were doing it. It was the South African police. No one's talking about that news. It may be a news flash, but they're not like harping on it. And it's like when you realize that, you're like, well, a lot of times people, like, our news are subjective. Like, we cater to people that they tell us that we should care about, and then we try to dismiss everyone where we don't think it's like marketable. You know, does that make sense?
I mean, it is what it
and
is.
At the same time, I think like the same thing with you know, American kids versus Pakistani kids is like same thing. They tell us who they try to tell us who's marketable and who we should care about. I'm not saying they're all sad and horrible, but we should be hearing news about the whole world, not just one subjective or one side. You know what I mean?
True, but to be fair, I just think Americans don't really care about what goes on in the world, so that's what they feed you.
But but do you think Americans really don't care, or because they haven't?
No, they don't. Like,
but do you think it's because Americans generally don't care? We don't care, or do you think because we've been conditioned not to care? I think we've been conditioned not to care.
I actually think Americans.
Are you think I think we've been conditioned. If the news showed us some sad stories about people in other worlds and like sad stories, we would tear up. I just think it's just that we've been conditioned not to care.
I mean, that's up to debate. I mean, in general,
we're humans too.
I understand that, but the whole American culture. If you go to a club in America, they play music from America. If you go to a club in Paris,
but that's not Americans want just to hear American. I mean, sometimes I play music for people who are not even American. They're like, "This is good music." I'm like, "Yeah," because you know, mainstream music's not going to show it to you. It's not because Americans don't know; it's we've been conditioned not to understand.
But you have to be an independent thinker. There's not as much independent thinkers in America. Trust me.
Believe me, we our minds have been shackled and shackled up for a long time. Corporations have power over
a guy I respect a long time ago, Noam Chomsky, said this. He said, if you really worried by terrorism, stop participating in it. End of the day, you got to force your overlords to change. If you're waiting for them to change, nothing's going to happen. That's just
we've been conditioned to be lazy, though. We've been conditioned to be mentally, emotionally, revolutionary, lazy. And they tell us what to think. The fact that people still listen to Fox News is like a miracle.
I mean, Fox News. The fact that people listen to any of those news, all of them are the same.
It's corporate news, that's true.
All of them are the same to me. I don't
sensationalism, I guess. Yeah. Well, that's our video.
Till next time. Peace.